It's time for Media Watch now. James Creedon is with us in the studio. Hi there, James.
Hi, Laura.
Good to see you. Now we're
Likewise.
going back to the US. The election is now, of course, under a week away. You've been looking at an article in the New York Times, which basically tells us that it wasn't always quite so hostile between the Clintons and the Trumps, was it?
That's right, and I suppose we knew already that there had been a certain friendship between the two, but there's a really interesting piece in the New York Times today when Hillary and Donald were friends, and it's talking about a sort of a rarefied New York society, that this transactional relationship, in other words, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, we're friends only because it's convenient and it's helpful for both of us, that relationship gives a window into a certain aspect of New York society. So they say what a difference a decade makes. This photo was taken at Donald Trump's wedding to Melania Trump in 2005, and Maureen Dow describes Hillary looking at Donald Trump lovingly, almost like a love-struck teenager, and she then contrasts it with this scene with Donald Trump sort of looming behind her at the second debate in a much less loving manner, I think it's fair to say. Now,
it's a far cry from Nasty Woman, isn't it?
God, it is indeed. Now, and even with threats of throwing Hillary in the clink if he is elected, as Maureen Dowd said. Now, the thing is, it's two New York candidates in this election, so all eyes are going to be on New York next Tuesday night.
It's all about New York.
On election night, Hillary will be holding her party or wake, as they're putting it. Is it going to be a party or a wake? At the Javits Convention Centre. Now, the Javits Convention Centre, this is getting the context in ahead of time because everyone's going to be talking about these facts next week. It has a literal glass ceiling. So this convention centre, so of course, if she
going to
wins,
fly through it? Or?
She's broken the glass ceiling.
Wow.
But
like the imagery.
Back in the 70s, Donald Trump wanted to build the centre and slap the Trump name on it, but the city refused. So it's just the perfect symbol if she wins. If she wins.
So much meaning, so much symbolism. We have to wait and see, won't we? Because the Democrats are getting a little bit worried about the latest poll numbers, aren't they? It has to be said.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how much should Democrats panic? Now, I'm just going by Facebook friends who happen to be Americans and happen to be Democrats. People are beginning to panic.
Do you know any Republicans, James?
I'm not sure I can name any. Maybe there's some secret Republicans, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point, because it's not mentioned.
Brexit factor, isn't it?
This is it. Now, first, I'll just show you this, right? This is in 538, Nate Silver. And if you scroll down through it, the 10 levels of poll, poll fretting. So from concern on number one up to a total freak out. Now, I've seen that word used in a lot of people's updates in the last week, because there is a genuine concern that the challenges that Hillary Clinton faces are immense this week.
Because her lead has dwindled.
That's right. It? Now, a whole lot of people here saying 4 to 5, 7 to 8. So people are actually anything from distress and anxiety right up to freak out. And of course, it's so difficult to call. What about the Chia Pet? Would that be an indication of where things are going? The Chia Pet election, 1 week out, Clinton has a slight edge. Both have some unfortunate backer. I've seen the most crazy ways of trying to determine how the election
people are
is
really
going
losing it.
To go.
There's only a few days to go. People,
they're losing the plot.
Hang in there. Let's talk about Donna Brazile. Now, she works for the Democratic Party, doesn't she? And she's also been working as a commentator on CNN, but she was unceremoniously sacked today.
That's it.
Because she was leaking questions to Hillary, right?
She was leaking questions to, this was during the primaries, essentially. Hillary Clinton was fed some questions that CNN were going to ask when they were moderating or overseeing a debate.
Back when she was fighting Bernie Sanders.
That's it. Now, it's very embarrassing for CNN, and their president has been speaking a lot in the last couple of days. He's called her leaking of this information disgusting, and so he's very much putting a distance between CNN management and what happened. Now, there's an interesting piece. I'll get to him. There's an interesting piece in the New York Times about a union of politics and news ends with both contaminated. Now, what they're saying here is people who are strongly allied with a political party, who are regular contributors for a particular network, there is a risk of contamination of both. And But
there's so much need for commentary now, isn't there, with these 24-hour news channels?
That's it, I guess. But essentially, this should be seen as a warning. The moment will be wasted if it is not if it does not prompt networks to reset boundaries between their newsrooms and their paid political operatives. In any case, it's put the spotlight on that. The kind of intersections between the media and politics that can lead to some degree of contamination.
Very interesting. Finally, President Obama has an embarrassing cousin, doesn't he, over in Kenya, who says he's voting for Trump. And Donald Trump has a cousin himself, a French cousin.
Who lives in the Loire Valley. His name is Robert. He's in his 60s. There have been communications with Donald Trump in the past, who was trying to find his European relatives. He's now known locally as Mr. President and all of that. Big media focus on Robert. There are about 60 Trumps across France, and they're now becoming somewhat notorious.
It sounds good in French, doesn't it? Trump.
Robert Trump.
Robert Trump. Okay, James Creedon, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Laura.
That's it for Media Watch.